Hello, I am Joy Onyeso, your host of the Friday Night Hangout. I am delighted to formally welcome you to our first season, season 6. Yay! This is our first season in the year 2022. Friday Night Hangout is a community of like-minded individuals who are willing to give themselves the permission to play full out by learning, unlearning, and relearning skills, strategies, and attitudes required to live a life of unlimited abundance, both in their personal and professional lives. This season, we would start off with conversations on repositioning yourself for growth, understanding value leading relationship that takes you to the next level. And we will also be talking about breaking bias for gender and development. I want you to come fully loaded on board into this season. So invite your family, your friends, your loved ones. Come, let us learn and celebrate ourselves in this first season of the year, episode 81 of our season 6. Now, if you want to change the results you've been getting over the years, you have to change the way you do things. And in this season, we are giving you that opportunity to learn new strategies and skills. I look forward to engaging with you every Friday night at 7 p.m. West African time on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make it a date with me. You wouldn't regret being part of this tribe. See you on the next episode of Friday Night Hangout. Hello, I am Joy Onyeso, your host of the Friday Night Hangout. I am delighted to formally welcome you to our first season, season 6. Yay! This is our first season in the year 2022. Friday Night Hangout is a community of like-minded individuals who are willing to give themselves the permission to play full out by learning, unlearning, and relearning skills, strategies, and attitudes required to live a life of unlimited abundance, both in their personal and professional lives. This season, we would start off with conversations on repositioning yourself for growth, understanding value leading relationship that takes you to the next level. And we will also be talking about breaking bias for gender and development. I want you to come fully loaded on board into this season. So invite your family, your friends, your loved ones. Come, let us learn and celebrate ourselves in this first season of the year, episode 81 of our season 6. Now, if you want to change the results you've been getting over the years, you have to change the way you do things. And in this season, we are giving you that opportunity to learn new strategies and skills. I look forward to engaging with you every Friday night at 7 p.m. West African time on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make it a date with me. You wouldn't regret being part of this tribe. See you on the next episode of Friday Night Hangout. Hello, I am Joy Onyeso, your host of the Friday Night Hangout. I am delighted to formally welcome you to our first season, season 6. Yay! This is our first season in the year 2022. Friday Night Hangout is a community of like-minded individuals who are willing to give themselves the permission to play full out by learning, unlearning, and relearning skills, strategies, and attitudes required to live a life of unlimited abundance, both in their personal and professional lives. This season, we would start off with conversations on repositioning yourself for growth, understanding value leading relationship that takes you to the next level. And we will also be talking about breaking bias for gender and development. I want you to come fully loaded on board into this season. So invite your family, your friends, your loved ones. Come, let us learn and celebrate ourselves in this first season of the year, episode 81 of our season 6. Now, if you want to change the results you've been getting over the years, you have to change the way you do things. And in this season, we are giving you that opportunity to learn new strategies and skills. I look forward to engaging with you every Friday night at 7 p.m. West African time on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make it a date with me. You wouldn't regret being part of this tribe. See you on the next episode of Friday Night Hangout. Hello, I am Joy Onyeso, your host of the Friday Night Hangout. I am delighted to formally welcome you to our first season, season 6. Yay! This is our first season in the year 2022. Friday Night Hangout is a community of like-minded individuals who are willing to give themselves the permission to play full out by learning, unlearning, and relearning skills, strategies, and attitudes required to live a life of unlimited abundance, both in their personal and professional lives. This season, we would start off with conversations on repositioning yourself for growth, understanding value leading relationship that takes you to the next level. And we will also be talking about breaking bias for gender and development. I want you to come fully loaded on board into this season. So invite your family, your friends, your loved ones. Come, let us learn and celebrate ourselves in this first season of the year, episode 81 of our season 6. Now, if you want to change the results you've been getting over the years, you have to change the way you do things. And in this season, we are giving you that opportunity to learn new strategies and skills. I look forward to engaging with you every Friday night at 7 p.m. West African time on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make it a date with me. You wouldn't regret being part of this tribe. See you on the next episode of Friday Night Hangout. Hey, hello. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Hangout. Who is excited to be here? I am super excited to be here. And tonight we have an amazing guest in the studio. I'm going to bring her up very shortly. But before I do that, as is the culture, I always like to know how your week has been. I want to know how you've been doing. How has everything been with you? Just put it in the chat box, and thank God it's Friday. And you know, one thing I'm so excited about tonight is we're going to be concluding our conversation on breaking the gender bias. And we have an Amazon in the house who is going to wrap up all the conversations we've had in the month of March. So sit tight and trust me, if you don't have your writing pen, your writing pad or journal, go get one right away because you're going to need it. And if this is your first time of joining us, I want to say welcome. This is a Friday Night Hangout, and I remain your host, Joy Onyeso. This is a very safe space where we have conversations on topical issues. We learn and then we also unlearn certain things. This is a place where you network. You just come here and you distress. You also learn how to celebrate yourself and be you. So do join me as I bring on board amazing guest, Buki Shonibare. Hey, hello, Buki. How are you?
I'm fine. It's so amazing to be here today. Good
Hey,
to see
thank you,
you.
thank you. It's so good to have you, Buki, joining us all the way from London, UK. Buki, it's so good to have you. And I know how busy your schedule is. I want to say thank you so much for making out time to be on this show tonight. And, we're going to have a conversation on how to break gender bias. You've been involved in a number of activities, but before we go into that, I always like my guests to self-introduce. So kindly please tell us who you are, what you do, so that the audience can get to meet you, and then we go into the conversation. So over to you.
Thank you. My name is Buki Shonibara. So first, I am really excited to be here today. Thank you so much, Dr. Joy. Oh, yes, so you've been on Amazon, and thank you for setting the pace. Thank you for trailblazing, in everything that you do. And thanks for this platform because this is not just about conversations. This is about connections. And
Yeah.
this is about learning from each other. So thank you for this opportunity, which I do not take for granted. So my name is Buki Shonibare. I'm the executive director of Invictus Africa. I am a 2021 Ford Global Fellow. I am
Mm.
currently studying at the University of Oxford. I'm currently studying international human rights law at the University of Oxford, having just finished my international law and development masters at the University of Nottingham. I work on gender issues at Invictus Africa. We promote human rights and address gender inequality through data, evidence, and we do that by collaborative actions, capacity development, and advocacy. So again, I'm glad to be here.
I'm so super excited to welcome you, Buki. Please join me, tribe, in giving Buki a rousing welcome. I want to see it in the chat box. You know how we give the Friday night hangout welcome. Please let's do that to Buki. And I don't know if you know what it means. For her to be railing up for this achievement. This is a Women's Month, and I'm always super excited when I see any woman who is doing a whole lot. We need to learn how to celebrate our own. So, Buki, I celebrate you today. I really celebrate you. I honor you. And it's a privilege to have you here. So it's a privilege because oftentimes we tend to take things for granted, especially when we have people in our space. We take it for granted that, oh, this person needs to show up, this person needs to come here. And we don't honor that access. It doesn't matter the age. We need to honor access when it's given. And so I want to take this time to celebrate you, to honor the access you've given to my tribe, because it's one thing for us to connect. It's another thing for you to bring your wealth of knowledge to the Friday Night Hangout tribe, from them for them to also, you know, learn and reflect from the conversations and connections that will happen today. So thank you so much and welcome. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. I see a lot of people saying welcome, welcome, Buki, welcome,
Wow.
sister. You and Amazon. Thank you so much. Keep the welcome coming in. Keep it coming in. Thank you so much, everyone. Now, Buki, the month of March is really very special for us, and in particular for Nigerians, especially Nigerian women. You've been part of the struggle, and you saw and experienced what happened recently with the gender bills that were sent to the National Assembly. Now, I want you to put, though we've talked about it initially, but I would like you to put it into further context. And then tonight, we conclude the conversations on breaking the gender bias. And I really hope we're going to have a very rich interactions. A lot has happened since then. And beyond pointing out at what the challenges are, I want us also to look at solutions. How can we move forward? How can we get engaged? 2023 is round the corner. I often get this question when, especially from women and young women, they'll tell me, Why do I need to come out to vote? My vote would never count. Why do I need to get involved in politics? It doesn't matter. Now, looking at where we are today in Nigeria, no fuel, no aviation fuel, no fuel for the cars, no diesel, water, light. It's like as if there's a conspiracy theory in Nigeria. Everything must come to a halt at the same time. And who women are bearing the brunt of this. So let's have that. Let's start off the conversation from that area. Let's situate what is happening and how it affects or impacts on our agenda, and then we look at way forward. So I would like us to take it in due so people can ask questions and we can interject and all that. So I hand the floor over to you.
Thank you very much, and thanks. I'm really excited that this conversation has started before now. So what we are going to be doing is just simply to just build on what has been discussed so far, but contextualizing it within what is going on in Nigeria, not
Mm,
just in Nigeria regarding gender, but in Nigeria regarding the economy,
yeah.
the policy, and the general landscape of Nigeria as its impact on women and its impact on gender.
Mm,
So, like you rightly said, March is actually a significant month, not just for women globally, but it was also a significant month for women in Nigeria. And the way I like to put it is to say that for us, March was the month that the lawmakers joined previous lawmakers to legalize gender inequality.
yeah.
And by putting it that way, it's a brazen legalization of gender inequality. And when you see something is brazen, you say that it is without shame. It is with
Yes.
boldness. Because when you have lawmakers, they are supposed to make laws. And let's put this in proper context. Laws reflect the values of any society.
True.
Laws reflect the direction of any society. So when we have laws, we're using those laws to say this is who we are as a people. So that is why a United States or United Kingdom or other so-called developed countries will legalize, let's say, gay marriage. Just giving an example. But Nigeria have not legalized it simply because at the stage we are, it is not yet a reflection of who we are as a people. So what becomes law is a reflection of who we are. So when you have the lawmakers on March 1st, rule out all of those five gender bills, it is simply saying that we have not yet come to that point as a nation where we consider women as equal to men.
Mm,
And I don't know if it has been discussed. Those gender bills border on three key things, even though there are five gender bills. One is on citizenship.
yeah.
So the one of citizenship, and I think why this is painful for me and why I seem to take on that advocacy a lot is because these are basic rights of women.
Yeah.
And it is unfortunate that we have become a nation where we force women to fight for their rights. Certain rights should be a given, where
Mm,
I don't have to cajole and beg you and lobby, and carry placards and do all of those things. Certain rights in this 21st century should actually be a given. So one of it is that citizenship right bill, which basically is saying that amend Section 26 of the Constitution and amend it in such a way that a a foreign husband of a Nigerian woman will be able to take up the citizenship of the wife. The same way Section 26, subsection 2E of the Constitution as present allows a man to do that. Let me break that down. It means that when a Nigerian man marries a foreign wife, that foreign wife can claim Nigerian citizenship. But and it is guaranteed currently in the Constitution, Section 26, subsection 2E. But that same right is not extended to women. So what we are saying is extend it to a woman, such that when a Nigerian woman marries a foreign wife, a foreign husband, the foreign husband can also claim citizenship. And when you don't have citizenship of a country, you can't enjoy certain rights, certain privileges, certain opportunities. So
yeah.
you see how that is a bias. Suffice to mention that when we talk about biases, we are talking about those prejudices that impact on
Yeah.
women. So what we're seeing is we want to, and some of these prejudices are conscious prejudices, they are conscious biases, and sometimes they are unconscious biases. They are stereotypes. So when you say that a woman should not be able to take up the citizenship of her husband, you are simply consciously saying that that
Mm,
woman should not, you know. So it's either conscious or unconscious, but they are stereotypes that limit women.
mm,
That's the first bill. The second bill is on indigenship. And on indigenship, it is saying that let's amend Section 31 of the Constitution as it is right now. Amend it as well as Section 318. Section 318 is the interpretation section. So when you have interpretation section in any law, that's the section that is more of like defining key terms, you know. So we're saying that amend those particular sections such that allows a woman to become an indigene of her husband's state. She can
mm,
claim the indigene of her husband's state after at least 5 years of marriage.
mm.
Why is that necessary? Right now, you find out that when a woman from Edo State marries a woman from a man from Enugu State, the woman from Edo State is considered stateless because
Yeah.
she does not claim the husband's state. But in terms of appointment, promotions, or even contesting for elections, they will say, well, you are now married to a man from Enugu State. You cannot come and contest in Edo State. And when she goes to Enugu State will say um, you are not your Enugu State is not your state of origin. So we consider that married women are sort of stateless in Nigeria.
Mm,
So we said amend this section so that we take care of that issue. The third borders on women's representation in political leadership or even appointive leadership, and that's on the affirmative action. Affirmative action is so the remaining three bills borders on issues around affirmative action, and then we are saying that first, amend Section 223 of the Constitution to ensure that women can occupy at least 35% of political party administration. So you go to a lot of these political parties, you find out that women, the best they can be is to become the woman leader. What
mm.
happens to the other political party administration? So we said amend it. And you go to countries like Namibia, they have the zebra system
Yeah.
or the 50-50 system where they balance that men and women should occupy the same percentage. The second affirmative action related bill is the one on ministers and commissioner nomination. And then
Mm,
we're saying that when you are nominating, you are submitting names for ministers or commissioners, make sure that at least 35% are women. And that's where we're asking that they should amend section I think section 147 and 192 of the Constitution. Make sure when it got to the Senate actually reduced that particular 35% to 10%.
excellent.
House
Yeah.
of Reps reduced it to 20%. Still, it did not pass. That's the second one. The third one, which is the final point, is the one on reserved seats, where we are saying that learn from countries like Rwanda. Rwanda on the chart of the Interparliamentary Union's ranking, Rwanda is number one. And I'm sure that we've heard it, that Rwanda has the highest number of female
Yeah.
representation in their parliament. Nigeria, currently, we don't even have up to 9%.
Yeah.
So you go to the Senate where there are 109 members, only 8 are women. You go to the House of Reps where there are 360 members, only 13 are women. Yet we envy countries like Rwanda. Rwanda used the reserve seat bill. Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda. These are countries within sub-Saharan Africa that use the reserve seat and as approach. And we are saying that amend sections 48, 49, and 91 of the Constitution such that we can create additional 37 seats strictly for women. That's what South Africa, Rwanda, and all these other countries did
Mm,
strictly for women, create additional one such that those seats will be contested only by women. So if anybody loses, it is a woman. If anybody wins, it is a woman. Create additional 37 at the Senate, create additional 74 at the House of Reps, and create additional 108 across the 36 state assemblies. That bill also failed to pass. So let me close my thoughts by saying that when we're saying break the bias, it is that bias. If you watch the voting on that day, every time the bill comes up, the way they were shouting no was
Yeah.
as if there's a war between men and women.
Amen. Yeah.
And it's telling you that the bias here is not just unconscious, it's a conscious bias to say that
Yeah.
women should remain at the back. And this is what we are trying to break. And guess what? All I have said so far has been bias relating to women in leadership positions. How about bias relating to women in terms of land ownership?
Yeah.
How about bias relating to women in decision making in private sector? How
Yeah.
about bias relating to women even in marriages
Yeah.
as mothers in several ways? So I don't know for all our listeners today what you're passionate about, but everything you're passionate about as it relates to women, there is one bias there, and you have to consciously break it.
Thank you so much, Buki, for really laying this out very well. This is just layering on the conversations that has happened before. And thank you for doing a very good job of that. Now, one of the questions I keep getting is, why should I be concerned? Why
Mm.
should I, as an everyday woman, take an interest in all of these issues you've said? Whether it be bias in marriage, bias in decision making, bias in representation, bias in institutions. How does it affect the everyday woman? And then what impact does it have if we decide not to get interested and to get involved?
Thank you. That's a very good question. Three reasons. One is the fact that women issues will never be well represented if we don't have women in the room. You can't make decisions for women without women. You can't fully understand the issues affecting women without women. So while men may try to, women will be the best, it will be the best position. So let me relate it to women in political inclusion. If you go to the house, there are a number of bills that have been thrown out that will impact on gender because we don't have sufficient women to stand up to make the claim for women to say this is how it affects us as women. So if you talk about issues, whether around political inclusion, whether around land ownership, whether around decision making, if you are not bringing it from the context, I did a lot of work in the Northeast region, going into the refugee camps, even in coming up with practical strategies that can be taken in taking care of the issues in the refugee camps. Gender issues needed to be represented because whether we like it or not, women are constantly disproportionately affected in any situation. And guess what? We saw it with COVID 19. When we had that outbreak, and when we have emergencies like that, such as the public health emergency of COVID 19, you will notice that women are usually disproportionately affected, number one, and it is usually a reflection of existing inequalities.
Yeah.
So when COVID happened and you realize that gender based violence went up,
Yeah.
but gender based violence has been happening before now. Do we have to wait for an emergency to happen and for there to be an increased rate before we now do something? So, one reason why you should be concerned is that we need women in the room to actually be able to represent issues affecting women. You may ask yourself, after all, we have some women representation. But guess what? It is like having 100 people screaming, whereas there are two of them that are only women. Will you hear their voices? Will you hear
No.
the women's voices? No. So, for us, by us, that's one major reason. And it is our responsibility to be the ones to push for that. So, that's one in terms of making sure that our voices are well represented. Secondly, for the generation yet unborn, we must build a society where our children do not grow up and consider themselves as second class citizens. We must build a society. We must deliberately, doggedly, consistently build a society that will pierce all of these biases and stereotypes in such a way that your daughter and my daughter will not have to be relegated on the basis of our gender. Those things don't happen automatically. Those things happen on the backs of fights like this. And that's why you should be concerned. You don't want your child to apply for a position and then she's pushed aside and she's told that, well, you cannot attain this position because you are a girl or because you're a woman. We only just recently started moving the needle on women in technology. Before, in STEM, you don't see girls there. Now, when even right now, for everyone, I wish I can see people's faces. For anyone, when you see a female mechanic, don't you feel that, oh, that's a woman doing mechanic job? Why should it be? Why should it spark you that way? Because we have a society that is stereotyped,
Yeah.
biased in such a way that when we see those positions that are male dominated and a
Mm,
woman is there, why should it be male dominated in the first place?
mm,
You know, these are stereotypes and biases. So we must get to, it's the same way when you see a male chef. Now we've moved the needle a lot as it relates to when you see a male cook and the person is cooking. And even at that, there are still women who will say, hey, it's a man that did that too. Yet it is a woman that is supposed to be doing that. So,
mm,
in order for us to make sure that we create a society where our children will grow up in and they will never think that certain things cannot be done by them, it is
mm.
our fight now.
Yeah.
Okay. And lastly, the third point for me is every nation has at least 49 to 50% of women representation, of women population. Nigeria has 49.3% of women. That's why we always say we have about 50% women representation. Why should that percentage not be reflected in women's representation in every part of our society,
True.
in every sphere of our society? Why should it be 7.3% women in the Senate, whereas the population is 50% of women? So we want to make sure that there's gender parity, and that's why you should be concerned. And don't think that these things do not affect you because you are not in politics or because you are not if you go out and you begin to experience it in real life, you begin to experience how you are relegated on the basis of your gender. When you walk in the market, who will they eat the bonbon? It is not a man. Nobody in Alaba market or anywhere we eat. It is a woman because when it is only now they started changing advertisement. Even till now,
Yeah.
advertisements are
Yeah.
still largely sexualized,
Yes.
gender. So until you put a woman that is half naked, they don't think that they are fully
Yeah.
advertisement.
Exactly.
Even if it is a tin of milk,
Yes.
even if it is tire, even if it is tire that cars for cars, you still see a woman standing by the side
Yes.
because it is believed that until you sexualize it, it will not sell.
Yeah.
Why should we be subjected to that? You know, so the point I'm trying to make is the same thing that is not done to 50% population men, it should not be done to the other 50%. So for me, those are my reasons, and those are why you should be concerned.
Thank you very much, Buki. Well stated. And a very interesting comment by Chino. She says, another place that can be looked into is the King's Cabinet. Women should
Mm,
be represented too in the cabinet. Most communities will not want to hear of it because they will say it's not our tradition, it's not our culture. Women
mm,
should cannot lead. And we're going to take a break now, but when we come back, Buki, I also want us to start looking at tradition and then faith, religion.
mm,
How have we used, how have we weaponized religion
mm,
and culture to
mm,
subjugate women, especially in Nigeria? I was very
mm,
happy when you talked about some of the other African countries, Rwanda, Senegal, Uganda. These are African countries. And
mhm,
they're also patriarchal because we would always keep saying patriarchy is not just in Nigeria, it's a universal system. How
mhm,
have they been able to surmount it in these other countries that we haven't been able to move past it? And
mhm,
then
mhm,
also when it comes to pushing for gender equality, how have we weaponized religion and culture and then used it as a weapon to really pull women back and hold us on the ground? If we're ready for the ads on Live to Impact, I want us to put that on now. Can we have that now? Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to take this time out to invite everyone. This is going to be a very interesting conversation. It's the first of the series of Live to Impact. just as we'll be discussing, we talked about why it's important for us to use our voice, why it's important for us to get involved. And these are some of the conversations we are going to be having on the 5th and 6th of April 2020 on Zoom. So we're going to be talking on how to discover your voice and use it for impact. So not just only discovering your voice, how can you create legacies with it? How can you create change? How can you make a difference? And I'm going to be having four amazing sisters join me on each day. We're going to have two speakers each day, myself exclusive, to have this conversation. And honestly, they come um, with a rich knowledge base. And I would invite you, it's free, it's totally free, but you have to register. Can we have the link in the chat box? Thank you. So the link is already in the chat box. If you haven't registered, please kindly register. It's completely free. It's 90 minutes each day, 90 minutes on the 5th, 90 minutes on the 6th. And I tell you, you can't attend and go back the same. You're going to be reignited if you're already ignited. So please do make out time to join us on the 5th and 6th of April 2022. So the links are on the chat box. Please do click any of the link and join us. It's completely free of charge. Once you click and register, you get the access link. It's going to be done on Zoom. Okay, so we're going to go back to the conversation, Buki. Having that conversation on religion and culture as weaponized tools to subjugate women. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Thank you. So, first is to say that Nigeria, as with any other African country, is a deeply traditional or cultural and religious entity. Okay.
Mm,
And there are two limbs to this: tradition slash culture on one side and religion on another side. And
mm,
even though we always say that Nigeria, like any other African country, is a religious organization, wait until you go to the communities and see how culture, impact on our everyday life. And Dr. Joy,
yeah,
we worked closely in Ebonyi, in Cross River,
yeah,
and we
yeah,
see how there are certain things that don't bother bringing formal laws to come and try to change it. All you need to do is to change the tradition, the culture, the mindset around it, for you to be able to move the needle on that particular thing. So we are a combination of a traditional and religious entity. So what that means is that tradition and religion controls our behavioral pattern, whether we
true.
like it or not. In fact, what becomes law, like we are discussing, is usually a reflection of the traditional and religious norms that we have either to held on to.
Yeah,
So you know that one of the things that has stalled the implementation of CEDAW in Nigeria, for those who don't know, CEDAW, CEDAW, is the Convention on the Elimination of all forms of
obs-
discrimination against women. And one of it has been major religious factors. Okay,
yeah,
and religious factors here, don't mistake it and think that it's just Islamic religion.
mm,
It's only within the Christian fold as well.
yeah,
But let me not mix it together. Let me start with tradition. So you have traditions such as traditions around land ownership or property rights that is still going on. And I usually hate when people think that it is only a southeastern situation. Oh, it only happens in the Igbo culture. No, it happens everywhere. We have not just delved deep into it.
mm,
There are traditional practices, traditional cultures that impede on women, such that because it directs our behavioral pattern, once we say a woman cannot own land, or once we say that a woman cannot inherit land, it is a message that is being passed to the society that the woman is relegated, it is biased.
ex-
So even beyond land ownership issues, you see it reflected in every other thing. So I went to a northeastern state. We were doing a project there, and when we asked the men and women to come out and we wanted to distribute stuff, the men were sitting in front and the women are sitting at the back. It
mm.
was nobody was arranging them. Everybody just knew that all the women need to go and sit at the back of the room. It wasn't arrangement. It was it. it was, and I didn't realize it until I stood up to make a contribution, but I didn't want to insult their tradition, so I didn't ask until we finished. When I finished this, the man that I asked said, "Why should the woman be sitting in the front?" Now, those are land ownership issues, and there are so many, even
Mm.
issues around female genital mutilation. Dr. Joy, you have worked on issues like this
Yeah.
before. They are all traditional based issues, that says that, for instance, oh, so that the woman will not become promiscuous, let us cut off her clitoris. These are traditional issues that, and so because we're a deeply traditional society, so that tradition determines our behavior, all of these things are allowed to pass. That's tradition. Now, before the advent of Christianity or Islam in Nigeria, tradition has been our norm.
Yeah.
So religion came to meet tradition. So before the missionaries started coming up and all of that, we grew up as a traditionalized society. What religion was now made to do, the tenets, the injunctions, the provisions of any religious book, we started interpreting it within the context of the existing tradition.
Exactly.
So even when the Bible clearly says something, we interpret it through the lens and the prism of the tradition that we have held on to. So I will give an example. If we say that women should not become leaders in the churches, go to an average church, even the most advanced and modernized churches.
Yeah.
Check the seats where they normally put the pastors and all of that. Tell me, be conscious of it. Listeners, be conscious of it from this Sunday. Check that place where the deacons and the pastors will say, and calculate the percentage of women to men. It is usually low, even in the 21st century, even in the most modernized churches.
Yeah.
So now what we see as women not being represented is not because the Bible says women should not be represented. It's not because Quran or whatever says women should not be represented. It's because our tradition before then had relegated women. And so we interpret every of our religious policies, tenets is seen such that if we go against it, we go against what we believe is what God has said.
Mm.
Right to education, for instance. Till date, it is still believed that women should not be enlightened. Why should women not be enlightened? Because we believe that when women are enlightened, they take the position of men. Yet, men, according to the Bible, now women should not be enlightened or their traditional norms, but according to the Bible, it says that men should be the head of the home. So we interpret that particular
It's right.
innocent on the basis of our existing biases.
Yes.
Do you understand? So you see the intersection between tradition and religion. So even though they stand on their own to impact on women, on gender equality, they also intersect in reinforcing each other. So in order to move the needle, which is the second limb of your question, in order
Yeah.
to move the needle, and I was asked this question, I was on Channels TV last week or so, and I was asked this exact question. It's not something that will happen in the next 1 year. It's not. So they asked me, how long do you think it will take us? We can't put a time to it
Up to time.
because what we are trying to change, Dr. John and the audience, what we are trying to change is deeply ingrained
Yeah.
traditional systems
Yeah.
that we see continue to reflect in the society. Is
Yeah.
roots. When you plant a tree, you have to go down to the roots to be able to unplug it from there and unplug every strand of that root. Otherwise, it will grow back. So it is a generational work it's being fought from the days of Magpetepo, from the days of Fumilayo and Sonkuti,
Mm-hmm.
from the foremothers that have come ahead of us. It's being
Mm-hmm.
fought by our generation. What we're trying to do in our own generation is to say that our children must not fight the same
Exactly.
battles that we're fighting.
That's it.
If you're going to fight any battle as it relates to it should be another battle entirely. It should not be
Exactly.
this. So a lot of these biases we are seeing must change in our own generation, so
Yeah.
that if they have to fight any battle, it should be peculiar to their generation.
Yeah.
So there's intersection of it, and guess what? Who has the responsibility? You and I. all of us, everyone listening, you will see if you pay attention from today, you will see gender bias play out every day.
And
You're
just
guilty. Mhm.
to leverage on what you said now, Buki, just listening, because someone I just reading a comment, just reflect on what you said, reading a comment where Stella is saying that some of the women are saying that women in diaspora have lost value for tradition because they ask their husbands to help in the house chores. And just to say, and I want to talk about the Christian religion now, the Christian faith. Now, what will you say out there to women who think that it is contrary to Christian faith for you to push for the rights of women? Because that's the argument, that we want to upset um we want to set the will of God. I like us to really center on this. And I ask you for that of the Christian faith because I know you're a practicing Christian and that is where you have authority on to speak on such issues. So I want you to speak to, and why I want the second reason I want to speak on this is we have a lot of women that are watching this now and are going to watch the replay because we've had that center argument on how can you be a practicing Christian, a real Christian, and then you're pushing for women's rights. And then we talk about feminists. They say, oh, they're all feminists, and then label it all kinds of things. In the next, because we have just about 14, 15 minutes, the next 2 to 3 minutes, I want us to have that conversation and then we'll have some wrap up thoughts.
Thank you. I think that we must not misinterpret the scriptures. Male and female he created them. And to each of the gender, God was careful as to when He created them. Now, does the Bible promote the superiority of men? Yes,
Mm.
whether we like it or not. And then when you look at passages like First Timothy 2:11 to 12, I'm not trying to get preachy, where it talks about the fact that women should learn in silence and humility, and that and women should not teach, or women should not be in authority. There is a context to it. It was a text to that Timothy was writing to the people that he was writing to because of the context that was at play at that time. It is not our context now. See, let's one of the things that I always say is that a lot of times we interpret scriptures as we interpret any other situation to fit our biases.
Mm.
So let us make sure that when we are reading those scriptures, even though they are there, and see, if you Google gender inequality in the Bible, all the scriptures will come up. But when the scriptures come up, read the context to it. Read who is writing it, who it is written to, and why was it. So, like, because I have 2 or 3 minutes, see, if we can do an episode on each
This.
of these scriptures and dissecting it on the basis of why did it even become necessary for
Mm.
Paul to write to the people of Corinthians on
Mm.
this particular issue. What was the event that happened that led to it? So let's not interpret religious injunction in isolation. Let's interpret it contextually and
Mm.
understand why it was written there. Do you
Mm.
understand? So I won't be able to delve into it, but it is to say that there was a context to it, and those context was what was applicable at that time.
Mm.
Do you understand? So that will be my point on that. But we must make sure that even in the interpretation of those contexts in our reality, of those scriptures in our reality, the same way they contextualize it as to what is happening then, we must also contextualize it as to what is
Beautiful.
happening now. Otherwise, you will be putting a round peg in a square hole. You will be using a scripture that was used for a context for another context. Our context must be respected.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Buki. This is really very expository and straight to the point and in depth. And one thing I want us to walk away with today from this conversation on Christian faith and the struggle for women's rights is to understand that there is always a context to whatever scriptures you see in the Bible. Oftentimes we just go to a chapter, pick up a verse, and then we run with the verse. It always pays to read the background to that scripture and understand the context and understand how we can apply it to our own context today. And so this is really very important. And when you realize that when God even describes himself, he describes himself with feminine values. He
Mm,
describes himself with, he used a lot of feminine values to describe himself. And that shows you his thoughts concerning
mm,
women. And so we shouldn't use religion as a basis for subjugating women and disenfranchising women from participating in leadership. We
But
also,
let me say this, Dr. John.
yeah,
If you are looking for scriptures that back gender equality, you will find it.
yeah,
If you are looking for scriptures that does not back gender equality, you will find it. But again, everything must be done within the right context.
thank you. Very important. Thank you so much for that. And if there are questions, please put it in the chat box. I want to read this particular comment by Chinelo. First of all, Honorable Gonachi says, we are not upsetting anything, we're Jesus feminist. Then Chinelo says, exactly. I remember vividly when my husband gave his four sisters, all married, each a plot of land 2 years ago. It was like he did something abnormal. It was the talk of the village, and most women came asking me if my eyes are opened. I totally gave them reasons why I supported my husband to do it. It's their parents' property and they're part of the family, for crying out loud. They have the rights to that property, and that my husband's sisters and women does not make them any less. Amazing. Thank you so
Mm,
much, Chinelo, for this. This is very important. And this is why we need to get informed. We need to get informed so we can give an informed response to when people come to us asking questions. It becomes an avenue to teach, or an avenue to help people to unlearn and then relearn the right constructions. So thank you, Chinelo, for sharing that with us. Um, okay, before we take Bookie's wrap up comments, I also want to invite us tonight. If you haven't joined my Telegram channel, please I'll ask you to join the Telegram channel and join me tonight when we talk about embracing yourself. Embracing yourself. We're going to talk about it from a Christian perspective. What does yourself mean? What is your identity in Christ? How can you remain connected to yourself? And how can you get peak performance by embracing who God has called you to be? So these are some interesting conversations we're going to have tonight, 10 p.m. to 11 p.m., 1 hour on the Telegram channel. I invite you to join if you haven't. Please share the Telegram link on the chat so can just click in and join right in. So, Buki, your concluding thoughts before we wrap up.
So my concluding thoughts will be that it is a responsibility of everyone listening to break the bias.
Yeah.
Biases are not broken on their own. In fact, the way biases are structured, they are so rooted that so long as you leave it, it keeps
Mm-hmm.
growing. And you keep finding evidence, you keep finding reasons, you keep finding factors and elements that solidifies the biases.
Mm.
So for biases to break, there has to be conscious, deliberate, and consistent effort in making sure that those biases break, whether it has to do with women representation in political leadership, that's women inclusion, whether it has to do with women in decision making in private
Mm-hmm.
sector, whether it has to do with issues around gender-based violence, girls going to school, land and property rights of women, anything it is, everybody, even in our everyday relations,
Mm-hmm.
you will find biases. But those biases don't break. If only one person is fighting those biases, it is like just one person trying to cut down a tree or trying to break a stronghold. What if we all join hands and we are all eating that thing? First, we
Mm-hmm.
will make sure it will break, and second, it will break on time. So it is the responsibility of everyone. And guess what? You don't need to be running an NGO. You don't need to be a human rights advocate like me. You don't need
Mm-hmm.
to have a platform. Once you identify a bias, break it immediately. I'm breaking it. I'm not saying carry cutlass and start breaking. I'm saying that once you see it, once, for instance, if you have, let's say your gate man have four children and three of them are going to school, the three going to school are boys, and only the girl is not going to school. That's a bias. Why? You probe it and make sure that you're able to break it by making sure that that girl goes to school. And there are several others. As much as you can, also join in the fight. join on social media, even if it is just to reshare, like, make a comment. We are gradually, in one way or the other, moving the needle. So, my point is, it is the responsibility of you and I to break the bias. And you don't need to have a big platform. The fact that you are human, you are breathing, and you are conscious of this thing, you have the power to break the bias. And I hope that our children will not fight the battles that we fight.
Mm. Thank you so much because it's really amazing. I love the way you succinctly just wrapped up the conversation, giving us very practical examples of what we can do. Sometimes the question is, what can I do in my space? And I would always
Mm.
say, focus on one person at a time, one action at a time. That's your space, like Buki rightly said. Look at your security man. Look, you even in your home, how do you create
Even
bias?
your boss, yeah.
Exactly. How do you create
Thank you
bias?
for mentioning home, because sometimes we ourselves unconsciously so
Yes.
create bias. And see,
Yes.
we've been talking about this. So it is the girl that is in the kitchen, and then the
Yes.
boy is playing food. No, the girl is in the kitchen cutting onions. The boy is outside washing the car. Why
Yes.
is it that is the boy that is washing the car? Or let's even say the girl is playing with toy, but the guy is playing with car toy. He's playing
Mm,
with Lego. Why is it
mm,
that the girl is only combing the hair of a doll, but the boy is there mounting up Legos and doing technical things? So
mm,
be conscious of how you genderize your children.
mm,
Yes, we know they came male and female, but make sure that you don't unconsciously,
mm,
treat them with prejudice such that when they grow up, they think that, oh, there's certain things I can't do. You don't need to tell them that don't do this before they don't do it. They just
mm.
see what you don't allow them to do, and they take it on as things that they should not do.
Exactly.
So from your home, from your community, the society, your workplace, in the school, everywhere there is bias. Once you see it, break it.
Beautiful. Once you see it, break it. That should be our slogan. Once you see it, break it. And we're not saying break it like Buki said with a knife or whatever. Before you say we ask you to break it, we're asking you to take action. Speak up. Take positive action, educate the person, and create that change. And like she rightly pointed out, you don't have to have a big platform to do that. That's why we're having conversations like this. That's ripple effect of what you do in your own space, in my own space. And together the whole thing will just mobilize into a big movement. We have that collective responsibility, individual responsibility and collective responsibility. Change will only happen if you and me are invested in doing these things. Nobody will come and do it for us. And for you to be able to do it, you need to get informed. And that's why this conversation has happened all through the month of March. Yes, March is designated International Women's Month, but beyond March, the conversation continues, the action continues. So don't say, oh, March is over, it has ended, let me wait till next March. No, please keep up with the action, keep doing it. And listen, you might think you're not creating any impact until you keep doing something consistently. When you look back, you say, wow. You know how Bookie sometimes you think you're not making a change. We discussed that with the last training we did. And we saw
Mhm.
after how many months we could now start
Ripple
seeing
effect. Ripple
exactly. So
effect.
don't give up, just keep doing what you're doing, and definitely change is going to happen. I want to take this time out to appreciate you all for always staying tuned. You will come in by 7 and you still to 8 p.m., just listening, contributing, and making this a very interactive process. And next month, the month of April, our team is going to be on health and wellness. So we are going to have conversations throughout the month of April on health and wellness. And I know it's a conversation you all like to have. Most of you have always talked about health and wellness. Make April a date with us where we explore health awareness as it concerns women and girls. And as usual, we're going to have very constructive conversation. I also want to appreciate my team who are always behind the scene, making sure that this happens. If you're in Nigeria, you know that it's not easy. With all the techie issues, putting up ads, making this work, sometimes we're struggling here. You won't see all the things happening behind the scene. But sometimes it's really a struggle. But we're resilient and we just keep pushing in. And I'm also excited because Gradually, we are getting to the second year anniversary of Friday Night Hangout. And by the time we get into the month of April, we're going to talk more about how the anniversary is going to unfold. But one thing I want to tell you is look out. We're going to be launching a book. That I can tell you right now. We're going to be launching a book, Friday Night Hangout. It's going to be all the episodes we've had from the onset up till the month of I think March, and we're going to put them into an edited version where you can also read some of these conversations we've had according to the different teams. So who is excited? I am excited. So you can have this to watch and you can also have it to read, and it's really going to be quite interesting. And finally, don't forget to join me tonight at 10 p.m. on Telegram's channel. It's right there in the chat box. Click join, is for free. Join my Telegram channel and we'll have a very good conversation. Buki, thank you so much. It's been amazing having you here. I can see all the chat comments, the comments saying very insightful. Buki, thank you for these valuable thoughts. Thank you for doing justice to the conversation. And I do hope that we can have you. In fact, just having this conversation, I'm thinking we should talk more about
Religion.
the Christian women and the
Yeah,
struggle for women's rights. We're going to have that conversation in the Telegram channel,
yeah,
and I'll look
yeah,
at your availability. So we can have
yeah,
1 hour to just look at scriptures
yeah,
and
yeah.
see how we
Those
can move.
scriptures and contextualize it. That would be
Exactly. Exactly. And let's see if we can find a date sometime in April to do that. I will talk with you. Let's see how that can happen. And anyone that is interested, you can join us in Telegram channel to have that conversation. So thank you so much for your time, Buki. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I also hope to have you back on this platform again. And everyone is saying thank you, thank you, thank you, more grace. Thank you so much. And hey, beautiful ladies and gentlemen, it's so exciting to always have you here. Thank you so much for keeping faith, for always staying with us. And I look forward to seeing you next month, next week, Friday. Make it a date with us and share. Inform your family, inform your friends, colleagues, and please do share this video and also do share the link so we can have more people join us. Until we see you next week, Friday. From me to you is bye for now, and see you next week, Friday. See you. Bye. Enjoy your weekend and ensure you have so much fun, celebrate, have laughter, and just make sure that you're happy. Because I will always tell you that happiness is a deliberate choice. Don't hand that power over to anyone else. The happiness is a deliberate choice. So see you next week, Friday. Bye for now.